Welcome, dear brothers and sisters of planet Earth. I am Ashtar Sheran. On June 1st, something began that we all felt but were afraid to name. It didn't come from outside. It awoke within us. That same night, thousands of people across the planet woke up exactly at 3:33 a.m., all with the same sensation. As if someone or something was breathing in their ear. Slowly, hoarsely, coldly, no one could explain where it came from. It happened, but none of them could fall back asleep. Not out of fear, but out of awareness. Something ancient began to stir. Something impossible to ignore any longer. On June 2nd, many people started saying, "My eyes hurt." They described the light as different, sharper. As if the sun's rays weren't piercing the air but the very fabric of reality itself. Some began seeing flashes of light, even with their eyes closed. Doctors found no explanations, but clairvoyants from different corners of the world started saying the same thing. The door of energy has opened. It's calling, the sacred door of consciousness, releasing what we hid inside. Our fears, our darkness, our truth. On June 3rd, a man in Kazakhstan said his shadow began to move, detaching from him. A day later, he disappeared. He was found in the mountains, dead, but his wide-open eyes revealed something doctors couldn't describe or understand. They simply said, "He died from realization." That same day, 5 monks in Japan abandoned their monasteries and sat to meditate in the middle of cities. Within minutes, thousands gathered around them. One monk said, "We can't wait any longer. The light has begun to speak, and the darkness is ready to respond." On June 4th, a strange sound was recorded in the sky over Siberia. It wasn't a thunderstorm or an airplane. Too slow, yet too deep. People recorded it and posted it online, but algorithms prevented the videos from spreading. Those who listened for more than 13 seconds felt something shift inside them. Some cried, others laughed, some were speechless. But all said the same thing. It wasn't a sound. It was a name, not human, not earthly, but the name of something approaching. On June 5th, mirrors began showing coincidences. People worldwide started seeing repeated numbers, not just on clocks but in codes, receipts, phone numbers, and car plates. 1111, 333, 66, 77, as if the matrix itself was glitching, exposing keys to those ready to see them. A woman from Taipei wrote online, "I woke up, and all the mirrors in my house were broken. I live alone. The strangest thing was that all the reflections were eyes. Open my eyes, but I was asleep." Her post vanished after 6 minutes, and her account was erased without a trace. On June 6th, a day many esoteric sources called the Leo portal, the true awakening began. People started hearing a voice, not schizophrenia or religious obsession. The voice came from somewhere deeper, from the heart, saying simple things. "Wake up. This isn't your life. It's a repetition." Some had panic attacks. Others shed tears of purification. Those who meditated that day described a shared experience. Structures of light within their bodies. Feelings of peace replaced by ancient horror. Then pure silence. Absolute silence, without thoughts or time. On June 7th, in Antarctica, all satellites failed. The research station recorded an energy surge equivalent to a micro-explosion. But there was no heat, no destruction, only a blue, almost purple flash. Within a day, nearby scientists began speaking an unknown language. The recordings were sent to classified labs, and no one has heard from them since. A leaked recording contained an inhuman voice saying, "When it begins, no one will believe it, even those who knew." On June 8th, a meteorite fell in Mexico. Official reports called it space debris, but dozens of witnesses saw it hover in the air before impact, spinning. A cloud of light emerged, clearly displaying an ancient, unknown, yet recognizable symbol. People who saw it began drawing it independently in different countries, all identical, as if it were imprinted in humanity's subconscious and now surfacing. An elder from Peru said, "This isn't a meteorite. It's a message, not for the mind but for the soul." In the early hours of June 9th, dawn was imbued with strange stillness. The wind vanished. Birds fell silent. Even devices, clocks, refrigerators, phones, emitted a barely audible hum. People worldwide reported a persistent feeling of being watched, not from outside but from within. That day, something called instant recognition occurred. Suddenly, millions began understanding languages they'd never studied. A woman in Poland read Arabic. A child in Brazil read Sanskrit. Most terrifyingly, they spoke the same phrases. This was already us. We're back. But this time without masks. All posts about it were automatically deleted, but those who heard didn't forget. Their eyes changed, reflecting not information but an ancient, primal certainty that the end isn't death. It's revelation. On June 10th, headaches began. Massive pain, as if something inside the skull was trying to break through. The pain didn't stop with pills, sleep, or meditation. But at the peak of pain, some suddenly burst into pure, childlike laughter, as if recalling something incredibly simple. These people then became silent. They stopped arguing or persuading, only gazing. Those around them began to cry, not from fear but from a sense of knowing someone beyond time. Some of these people vanished before others' eyes. Cameras captured empty flashes. No shadows, no noise, just the feeling of a door closing. On June 11th, an inscription appeared in the sky, confirmed by thousands of photographs. Between 5:33 and 5:44 a.m. in many parts of the world, the same phrase appeared in the clouds, "It's time." The letters seemed carved from light, impossible to erase. They dissolved slowly, but not before everyone who saw them felt a tremor in their chest. Their heartbeats sharpened. The trembling began in their fingers. Some were deceived. Doctors couldn't explain why ECGs showed rhythms resembling those of people in clinical death. A cardiologist later said, "This isn't a heart rhythm. It's the rhythm of a portal. Something outside is connecting with us from within." The hardest moment began on June 12th. Strangely, people stopped dreaming. Millions reported on forums, social media, and to therapists, "I don't sleep. I just disappear for a few hours." It wasn't insomnia. People went to bed, closed their eyes, and saw nothing. No images, thoughts, or memories, just a deep, black void. Yet they woke up not tired but fulfilled. Some began hearing music that didn't exist. They tried to record it, but the recordings vanished, as if the universe wouldn't allow it to be held. This music had one common trait. Those who heard it said it carried the homeland they'd forgotten. On June 13th, the first cases of time reversal were recorded. CCTV cameras in supermarkets, elevators, and schools showed people entering rooms backward. Not walking backward, but literally moving into the past. Cash registers printed receipts in reverse. Children collected drawings into albums instead of drawing. These moments lasted seconds but happened simultaneously worldwide. Scientists attributed it to magnetic field disruptions, but one woman who experienced it said, "It wasn't time reversing. It was us, going back to where we lost ourselves." There was no fear in her voice, only sadness. On June 14th, a light appeared near the moon. Not a star, satellite, or comet. It didn't move, just glowed steadily. Every night at 9 p.m., it was called the Eye. After 3 days, the eye blinked, and everything on Earth went dark. Internet, electricity, GPS, signals. Total darkness lasted exactly 33 minutes. People lit candles, cried, prayed. Some fell to their knees, not out of fear but in confession, as if they felt something watching them, seeing them directly, not judging but waiting. On June 15th, the awakening wasn't sharp or grand but so deep that even lifelong skeptics began feeling something was wrong. People stopped recognizing their reflections in mirrors. They looked into their image's eyes and felt like someone else. Not an enemy or demon, but someone they once were or could have been. Psychologists' offices overflowed, but all tests were useless. A neurobiology professor wrote in his diary, "My reflection smiles when I suffer, as if it remembers something I don't." On June 16th, internal calls began, not phone calls. People heard a voice, different for each. Feminine for some, elderly for others, childlike for some. But all heard the same phrase, "We're with you. You just forgot." These words didn't sound in their ears, but in their chests. where their hearts ached. A man from Tula ran into the street in pajamas, shouting at the sky, "If you're with me, why does it hurt so much?" Seconds later, he fell to his knees, wept, then laughed, saying it was the first time since childhood he felt not alone. On June 17th at exactly 5:17 a.m., a global phenomenon later called Hechuiona began. All clocks stopped, not broken, even sand clocks froze. People felt a sepulchral silence. Birds hushed, the wind vanished, water in faucets stood still. Even thoughts seemed to freeze. Panic arose for a second, then realization: time isn't linear. The sequence is a prison we built ourselves. In that moment, the cage opened. People began remembering things they never lived, loving what they never felt, lives they never lived. They looked at each other, recognizing strangers, even the dead. That day, beings long considered fiction walked city streets, people in white with fire in their eyes. They didn't speak, only passed, sometimes touching shoulders. Those touched either collapsed unconscious or began crying or laughing like children. No one could explain it, but all knew they weren't human. June 18th arrived not as a day but as a portal. Morning brought thousands worldwide reporting dreams of falling into the same temple. No roof, no walls, but filled with a presence, as if thousands of eyes watched from the void, not with malice or judgment but expectation. In the center was a throne of light, surrounded by breathing statues. A teenager from Yaroslavl, never interested in mysticism, wrote, "I stood before the throne, and a voice said, 'We kept your name. Remember it.'" He woke in tears, hands covered in symbols. Hours later, he began painting works later deemed genius. Meanwhile, the physical world grew stranger. Electronic devices behaved chaotically. GPS systems pointed to non-existent places. Google Maps offered routes through Dreamland, Valley of Silence, Deepest Gate. Developers called it a server error, but people appeared at these locations, standing in fields, forests, old factories, claiming the Earth called them. No one could explain why, but these sites showed unusual magnetic fluctuations. Then disappearances began, not tragic. People left homes, jobs, families without conflict, leaving notes. "I heard the call. I must go." Some returned, changed, eyes deeper, aura slower, bodies lighter. They spoke of the other side as something always here, just inaccessible. A literature professor said, "We live at the ocean's bottom, thinking this is the whole world, and now I see." On June 19th, physical transformations began, not metaphorical. Chronic illnesses vanished, eye colors changed. A deaf-born child from Borneo began singing, his voice freezing even dogs. Scientists, shocked, examined him and found no eardrums. Yet he heard. He said, "I hear from another body." When asked which, he pointed to his chest. "Heart, I hear better than with ears." On June 20th, the world seemed to freeze. Not from fear or panic, but expectation. TV broadcasts stopped globally. Screens displayed in all languages, "Are you ready?" No explanation, no source. Channels tried restoring signals, but for 3 minutes, global radio waves carried this phrase. Then normalcy returned, but those who saw it felt a strange trembling, as if something awoke within, a question posed not to their eyes but their souls. Simultaneously, global synchronicities emerged. Birds flew in the same direction toward a point later called the axis of movements. Some rivers flowed backward. Clocks on people's wrists desynchronized, as if time itself broke free. People uninterested in spirituality began praying, not out of duty but an inner call. Some whispered unknown, unrecallable names. Others drew circles, spirals, eyes, as if their hands knew what their minds didn't. Research centers in China, Germany, and Russia recorded the impossible. Background radiation vanished in areas with Chernobyl traces or nuclear tests. Radiation evaporated. Scientists called it impossible, but it happened simultaneously on June 20th afternoon. Children in Bolivia, Kamchatka, South Africa, and Sicily began speaking the same ancient, unrecorded language, later found to match a hypothetical proto-language. They said they were telling a story, but their intonations were precise, like reciting a mantra. A linguist, hearing the recording, wept, saying, "This is the language in which we were named at the beginning." That night, the sky over eastern Siberia glowed with a strange, pulsing golden light. Not auroras, but something different. Those who saw it felt clarity, as if all noise, fear, and pain vanished. Some stood under it for hours, forgetting food and sleep, not tired but remembering their true form. It wasn't the end, only an approach. Something ancient, eternal, born within, was coming, and only the prepared could feel it. At midnight on June 21st, as the sun shone in some regions and touched the horizon in others, Central Asia saw a phenomenon called second wind of the planets. Satellites recorded low-frequency waves, 7.83 Hz, resonating with human brain rhythms, the same frequency per ancient mystics as the world's heartbeat. The wave didn't destroy, it reminded, it awoke. People worldwide woke simultaneously, even after an hour's sleep, with one thought: I must go outside. Stepping out, they felt the ground change, not physically but energetically. Some said the air grew denser, heavier, yet cleaner. Others said sounds sharpened, as if the world spoke for itself. In India's Himalayan foothills, monks silent for decades emerged and sang in unison. Tourist cameras caught their chant, and when posted online, it gave thousands worldwide goosebumps. It wasn't just singing. It was a song for the soul, untranslatable but clearer than any language, a welcome home. In Antarctica, strange heat flashes under the ice-melted glacial areas, revealing giant geometric structures, not natural or artificial, carved in crystalline rock, forming a spiral deep into the earth. Scientists there lost consciousness after 9 minutes, later reporting a voice heard not through ears but bones. You've returned. Now remember who you are. Spontaneous memory awakenings began in Latin America. People with no history knowledge spoke ancient languages. A Peruvian car washer painted symbols on walls, identical to those in Tiwanaku's temple. Asked how he knew them, he said, "I don't know. I just remembered." The morning of June 22nd was unusually calm. No planes took off. Navigation systems failed simultaneously. No one could explain it, but the sky was clearer than ever. Across the earth, identical eye-shaped clouds appeared, pointing downward. Some saw them as a sign, others a threat, but those who felt rather than believed knew. The eye doesn't watch, it calls. The prepared began gathering without words or instructions, drawn to a place where reality would dissolve, opening the true. If this message has touched you, subscribe and support us with a like to continue spreading light and love to more people. Thank you for being part of this community. A warm embrace